the second guppy talk by an Alex in the sexual conflict section. And before I get going, I want to acknowledge my collaborator Mitch, who helped a lot with the behavioral observations that I'm going to be talking about right now. Okay, so I'm starting with kind of a lame picture that came up when I was doing meeting interactions. And it's cute, but I think most of everyone in this room can appreciate that meeting interactions are not like this. But are actually way more like this. So as the sexes differ in their resource allocation towards reproduction, it follows that the optimal values for traits associated with reproduction will also differ, and that can lead to sexual conflict. One common outcome of sexual conflict is sexual harassment, and I was super excited because I got to add a recent Onion article, which is my favorite news parody site, which features sexual harassment, so that's and so sexual harassment can be defined as persistent mating attempts by males that can be costly to females. This can manifest as direct cost to females, including physical injury, increased energy expenditure when they try to avoid those males, increased predation risk, and reduced fecundity. And there's a large literature on the effects of multiple mating, for example, on offspring traits, but less is known about the effects of sexual harassment. Some studies have shown that sexual harassment can lead to increased mortality and decreased sexual attractiveness in offspring. However, many studies manipulate sexual harassment by altering sex ratio and mating frequency, and although these manipulations do affect sexual harassment, these manipulations can have their own distinct effects on offspring traits. For example, altering sex ratio in guppies has been shown to affect offspring size at birth. So, ideally, we would want to manipulate sexual harassment behavior directly. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this today, which is kind of a serendipitous effect from this large transgenerational study I'm doing on the effects of dopamine and novelty-seeking behavior. So a little bit about dopamine, as I fall on the floor. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter involved in movement, the reward pathway, and novelty seeking. And dopamine is fairly easy to manipulate because many drugs, many of which people use for recreational purposes, feel good because they affect the dopaminergic system and is involved in reward seeking. So there's a lot of drugs out there that can be used to affect the dopaminergic system. Lucky for me, dopamine is also involved in sexual behavior. So specifically, it's involved in precopulatory sexual motivation, as well as coordination of motor patterns during the actual act. Because dopamine affects sexual motivation, and because for a large transgenerational study I had to mate individuals, I was able to get at a couple questions that I'm going to talk about today. So first of all, does dopamine manipulation affect mating behavior, including sexual harassment? And if so, are there any effects on offspring? So the system I use for this are surprise Trinidadian guppies. So they use a promiscuous mating system where females prefer males with certain phenotypes, specifically certain color patterns, and as well they tend to prefer novel males. Males perform courtship displays to show off those patterns to females. But the other side of things, our females are receptive when virgins and shortly after giving birth, which is not optimal for male reproduction. So males harass females and attempt sneak copulation attempts, and this can be energetically costly to females as they try to avoid those sneak mating attempts. So this is a fairly good system to look at sexual harassment behavior. So we observed mating behaviors during mating trials where a single male and female were added to a large tank and we recorded behavior, and we varied both male and female treatment. So we did that by exposing individuals in the treatment category to a compound known to affect the dopaminergic system, which is Ritalin. And if you want to talk about Ritalin later, you'll know where to find me. And so starting at 1 month of age, we exposed individuals in the treatment to a low chronic dose of Ritalin, raised them to adulthood, and then tested them in mating trials. And we did the same thing for controls, except they were exposed to a vehicle, not the treatment. And we did this for both male and females. However, there was no effect of female treatment on any of the behaviors that we recorded during the trials, so I'm going to be focusing on male treatment. As well, females perform normally as they have done in previous studies, so I'm only going to be focusing on the effects of male behavior as well. So the male mating behaviors that I'm going to be talking about right now are two that are particularly harassing towards females. This includes the the time spent pursuing females, as well as the sneak copulation attempts. And so I looked at those using a multivariate analysis, and when I did that, I observed a significant effect of male treatment on both of those behaviors. So I'm going to show you both of those behaviors in univariate space so we can see the patterns that were caused by male treatment. So first I'm showing you the results for time spent following the female. I have control males in blue and treated males in purple, and there's a significant effect of male treatment with treated males following the females for short amounts of time relative to control males. And when we look at the effects of sneak copulations, there's a similar pattern with treated males performing fewer sneak copulations relative to controls. So this suggests that treated males were harassing females less than controls, and this possibly could be because treated males were exhibiting decreased levels of sexual motivation. As I mentioned before, dopamine does affect sexual motivation and behavior. So because we saw an effect of male behavior, we wanted to see if there were any effects in their offspring. So we reared offspring that were produced from these mating trials to adulthood, and then as I mentioned before, I'm interested in the effects of dopamine and novelty-seeking behavior, so we tested individuals' responsiveness to novelty. One of the tests we used to do this was the novel object test. So basically, individuals tested in a familiar environment and a novel object is added, which is this black disc in the center of the tank there. And then we record many different behaviors, some of which include time spent approaching the novel object, duration spent frozen, which is the standard stress and anti-predator behavior, as well as time spent cautious swimming, which is this behavior that kind of occurs after the individual is frozen and it's this very slow, deliberate swimming, and we also interpret that as an anti-predator behavior. We analyzed these results in multivariate space again, and when we did that, there was a significant effect of SAR treatment on offspring behavior. So to actually visualize that pattern, I'm going to show you one of the behaviors in univariate space that was most influential in that multivariate analysis, which is that cautious swimming behavior. So I have that behavior on the y-axis. I have offspring of controlled sires in blue and offspring of treated sires in purple, and there was a significant effect with offspring of treated sires performing less of this cautious swimming behavior than offspring of controlled sires. So this suggests that offspring of treated sires were less cautious near a novel object, and novelty seeking can be considered to be an ecologically relevant behavior. So you can imagine an individual who is less cautious near novelty is more likely to be exposed to rewards such as novel mates or food sources, but at the same time is more likely to be exposed to threats such as predators. And so in a natural population, variation in this behavior might have fitness implications. So I showed you that there appear to be effects of altered sexual harassment and offspring behavior, specifically sexual harassment treatment, decreased sexual harassment in sires, and there was also an effect of sire treatment on offspring behavior. But I'm going to tell you that there might be other factors that can be explaining this pattern. So one that I've thought of is an actual effect of the dopamine manipulation. So dopamine has been shown to lead to epigenetic modifications in individuals exposed to drugs that affect the dopamine system, and other studies have shown that it's possible that epigenetic modifications in some cases can be transmitted to offspring. So epigenetic modifications could be another mechanism explaining this pattern between sires and offspring. And I'm going to show you a tiny bit more data that makes me think it's both sexual harassment and possibly this epigenetic modification that are affecting the offspring in this case. So earlier I already showed you a subset of our data. So we manipulated male treatment and female treatment, but also manipulated novelty status. So pairs can either be familiar or unfamiliar with one another in addition to the other treatments. We manipulated novelty status visually. So individuals at 1 month of age were added to these focal tanks. A pair that would ultimately be familiar with one another would be in two tanks that were neighboring each other. And so they would see each other while they were growing up. Individuals who were going to be in the unfamiliar treatment would be in tanks that were not next to each other, so they couldn't see each other. And so the data that I showed you previously were the results for unfamiliar pairs. However, we see a kind of different story when we look at the results for familiar pairs. I'll highlight a couple different things to you. So first of all, there doesn't seem to be as obvious of a link between sire and offspring behavior. So at least for familiar pairs, this maybe suggests may be playing a role, and to do that, I could test the sperm of treatment and control sires to see if there's any differences in epigenetic profile, for example. Okay, so to sum up, I showed you that dopamine manipulation decreased sexual harassment behavior, and so this suggests that drugs that affect the dopaminergic system could be a useful tool to affect mating behavior as well as sexual harassment, and this could help complement some of the previous studies that have used other manipulations. I also showed you that there appear to be effects of altered sexual harassment on offspring behavior, but surprisingly it's complicated, and it possibly is context dependent, which is another surprise. And there may be an effect of epigenetic modifications in this process. So with that, I'm really fast, but I'd like to thank my lab, everyone who's contributed to the science, people who contributed to the talk funding sources, and before I finish, I want to end by plugging 2 talks from my lab. So my lab mate Mitch is doing a talk on population estimation and kin recognition in guppies, and he's in the Tuesday inbreeding session. So if you like hearing more about guppies, you should check that out. And my other lab mate, Michael Foisey, has a poster tonight on using phylogenetics to understand the origins of mating preferences. So check that out. And thanks for listening.
Time for questions.
So you suggested that one mechanism might be epigenetic modification in the father.
Yeah.
And the other might be sexual harassment of the mother.
Yeah.
Are you ruling out epigenetic modifications on the mother in the sexual harassment? You seem to say sexual harassment or epigenetic modifications, but surely they both.
It could both be playing. Definitely both are
I
playing a
just
role.
wanted to know how I was missing something.
No.
Okay.
I probably went through that part way too fast. I just wanted to say that you couldn't rule out both of the factors.
Epigenetic modifications in both parents producing results in offspring.
Yeah, and so far, obviously this is just a part of my big experiment. I've been analyzing the effects of treatment, and this is a different part of the story. So far, it looks like the epigenetic modifications might only be in the maternal side, but I have to do more complex analyses with pedigree integrated to actually get at that. So preliminary, it looks like more on the male side, but there could still be effects on the female treatment that I'm not seeing yet, which is kind of counterintuitive because guppies are live bearers, and so you would almost think that exposure to a compound would affect the offspring because they would be directly exposed through the mom. But so far, I haven't seen that very clearly. So it's very interesting and kind of complicated.
Any other questions?